Item B-11 that was requested to be removed from the consent agenda. I might propose that we do that now. We have one public comment, and then we will go take a quick break. Does that sound okay? Or does everyone need that right now? First, the former, not the latter. Okay, so we'll go ahead with item B-11. Commissioner Ketchton.
Okay, you want the public comment first, or you want?
No, we'll have you describe your reason to bring it off, and then we have to take action, and we'll take public comment before action.
Okay. I moved it from the consent agenda because I wanted to vote against it. I would like to vote for it. So to that end, I have two independent propositions to float with you guys. And give me a couple minutes to explain where I'm coming from, and then we'll see if anyone else agrees with me and we can move along. As you guys know from last time, I thought the first 5 years of the plan was good. I would throw the second 5 years away. I think the second 5 years are what we've been trying, and there's no indication that we can hunt our way out of a bear conflict. It's just an experiment that has failed. But the two things that I don't think that view is shared, but the two things I think might concern fellow commissioners, one is the tipping point for what's unacceptable bear conflicts. And here it's just how we describe it. And I talked about this with Brian the other day. We say that the average for the last 3 years is 450 bear conflicts. We use the word average. If you look at table 2 in the plan, the last 3 years, the actual average, and there's 3.5 months missing from that 3-year period, but the actual average is 485. And it would be higher than that if you put the other 3 months in that total. The plan says that they don't want to use the last 3 years of data because it's difficult to discern trends over just 3 years, which is understandable. So they go back 12 or 13 years using anecdotal data and say in a good year, you have about 300 conflicts. In a bad year, you have 600 to 900 conflicts, and good years and bad years are about equally distributed. They average 300 and 600, come up with 450. That's not an average. If you have 300 in a good year and you have 600 to 900 in a bad year, you would average those three numbers, or you would take the average of a bad year, which would be 750, average that with 300 and come up with 525. These are all just numbers, but what is concerning to the public, and at least the people I've heard from, is when you describe something as an average, and from the data presented in the plan, it's not the average. And it looks like we played with the data to the disadvantage of the bears. I would be fine if we described the 450 number as a professional judgment of what we view as too many conflicts, or the number of conflicts we're willing to address. But if you call it an average and the data doesn't support that being the actual average, it gives the public the perception that we are fudging the figures. So on that one concern, I would like staff to take one more red line through the plan and either call that professional judgment or change it to an actual average, either 485, 525, whatever that data. But I would like the numbers to work so the public has trust in us that we're not jumping to address predator conflicts with hunting by messing with the numbers and setting too low a trip. It looks like Brian wants to respond to that, so I'll stop there and do the other thing later.
Morning, everyone. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Directors, Brian Duran, Terrestrial Section Manager. We actually have our team on from Glenwood. So online we have Julie Mao. We also have Area Wildlife Manager Matt Yamashita and Senior Wildlife Biologist Brad Baniels on. And I guess I might just give them an opportunity to try and explain where the 450 came from. I think that would be the best place to start to address Commissioner Touchton's question.
Not sure who's going to start from the screen. Matt, would that be you or?
Certainly, I can take that one. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Directors, Matt Yamashita, Area Wildlife Manager, Glenwood Springs. appreciate you bringing this forward, allowing us to provide some clarification and discuss further. Commissioner Touchton read some of your correspondence and heard your question. And I don't disagree that we are, I mean, to a degree, we are definitely utilizing professional judgment on what that threshold is. We're talking about a number that is based on social aspects, a social science, not biological. So it's a little bit different in there. Part of it is as well is recognizing that we're utilizing a database that has been in existence for less than three full years. So you address that as well. 3 years, as we mentioned earlier, is a short time frame with which to utilize data to substantiate trends. That's the rationale behind including a longer time frame, which on our tables there, it includes the last 13 or 14 years worth of data that showcases forage scores and conflict numbers. So that's where we're coming from with those numbers and the rationale behind it. With regard to the 450 number and that providing an average, one of the things to outline for consideration is that 450, if you take a step back and look at that, 450 conflicts, and these conflicts as defined with the app that's being used to record these incidents is defining that as property damage, aggressive behavior, or physical injury to humans. So for a number of 450 in a given area is fairly significant, no matter where we are in Colorado. Obviously, we're in an area that's we're high, and our goal as staff is not to substantiate and perpetuate 450 of these incidents annually. That I think staff agrees with our discussions with local communities. That is a high number, and we would like to see something lower than that. So 450 was something that was utilizing the numbers that we had on hand and available to us. Increasing those for our discussions with our communities during our public engagement, increasing that would be doing a disservice to the goals that we as local staff and our publics are trying to accomplish in lowering those numbers. Obviously, we want this plan to be successful, but we also don't want to create something that's no matter what will be successful, and that we don't give ourselves some sort of an objectionable goal.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. I'm happy with you coming up with a number. It's how we describe it. I think you've clarified that it is not an average necessarily based on the math presented, but your professional judgment of what's acceptable to the community. With that modification, it's fine. I just think if we're going to call something an average and the public can do math, it's got to be the actual average. Or it's like truth in advertising, I guess is what I'm asking for. The other point, which actually I'm more concerned about than the number, is if we have too many conflicts, that we then switch to a management regime that is entirely social and devoid of biology. And that's the second 5 years of the plan that I think is just a bad idea. We say we want to manage for a reduction of the bear population through hunting until we have 50% fewer conflicts. That there might never have a bottom to it. A good year is 300 conflicts. If 450 is too much, we'll never get to 50% reduction from 450 because we've never been there. And I think the years will get worse. We have climate change, we have drought, and we have an increasing human population. So I don't think we'll ever get a 50% reduction in conflicts. I think that's not a standard. But even then, it's social entirely. You would just continue increasing hunting, trying to suppress the population forever. The only roughly biological check is we would monitor our harvest statistics. And if the harvest statistics indicated a declining population for 3 years in a row, success rate is 1 to 3%. So I don't think we'd ever detect hunter dissatisfaction until very, very late in the game. 97% of the hunters don't harvest a bear. You'd have to have a really abysmal success rate before anyone would even notice. So on that part of the plan, I just wanted some biological minimum, a bear population number, a minimum viable population or a sustainable yield of bears. We have 1,040 bears estimated out there. I assume someone could say this area of habitat should support at least, I don't know how to do that kind of analysis, 600 bears, 800 bears, but we'd have some floor. We wouldn't fall below chasing a social goal that we're not going to get to through hunting. The only way we're ever going to reduce those bear conflicts, in my view, is through better human management, the behavior of the humans through their trash, what they leave around, rather than the behavior of the bears, which is going to be constant. So I just wonder if it would be possible to switch the second 5 years of the plan to include something that's not a social metric, but a biological metric.
Madam Chair, I might suggest that Julie answers that question, but before she does that, I just want to clarify one thing. It's important to note that at the 5-year mark, this doesn't automatically switch over to suppression management. Our goal here is to reduce conflicts over the next 5 years so that we don't have to go there. That's our goal. And if you know, what we're saying is if we don't meet that metric, which is outlined in the plan, then we're going to consider switching over and changing our harvest management to a different strategy. But that's not our goal at all. Our goal is for a 10-year plan that has stable management and using other techniques and a lot of work in the area that they've done. But in addition to that, to try and reduce conflict. And that's not an automatic switch. And we will evaluate that essentially at the 5-year mark from then to 5 to 10 years. So that switch may occur even later in the life of the plan as well. But so we're going to monitor that. That's not our goal. The goal is to try and, you know, use other techniques to try and minimize conflict in other ways to try and reduce staff time. So I just want to clarify that, but then I'm going to switch to Julie. I think she would.
Just one real quick,
Yeah.
and I do want to hear from Julie.
Yeah.
But on the plan, I hear you. But we write plans. In 5 years, I hope you're the only one. I hope you're still here, but you'd be the only one. Even our most recently confirmed commissioner to my right only gets 4 years.
Sure.
So the way things go, we'll all be gone. And so the plan and you are hopefully all that's left. And that's why I care about what the plan says, because, you know, we're a vanishing and ephemeral crowd, but the plan will be the document that the commission 5 years from now gets to look at. That's why I know I hear you, and I really hope you're still in that, well, maybe advanced, but you know, that you're still on the job in 5 years, but we won't, honestly.
Sure, and I understand that, but I do believe that the community is still involved, right? The area, it's essentially our roadmap for how we're going to manage bears, and even if the commission may be different, we're gonna continue to manage bears, hopefully based on this plan for the next 10 years. And so, anyway,
I'm gonna go to Director Prenslow, and then I'll come over to Commissioner Garcia and then Schaefer.
I'm not sure it's the right time or not, but at least at this plan, you know, we've had a lot of movement. We're working with the community. We're trying some innovative stuff with trash, and it is based on a community plan. And at least what I hear of your second request, Commissioner, seems like what I'd call a hook or a trap. It's not based. It's really difficult to manage, not only biologically, but socially. But if we're trying to create something in a plan, and it'll take a crystal ball in the future and set that in stone instead of coming back and readdressing the issues that are there, which was what was attempted in this plan. And I just think trying to set a number, a hard biological number 5 years from now when we're going to readdress it is more of an attempt at not addressing the real issues on the ground.
That's what every other herd management plan does. All our deer and elk plans give us a range 5, 10 years from now. All I'm asking for is a range, 600 to 800 bears. That would be identical to any other plan we've done.
Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on my nice drive back from San Diego the other day, spent about an hour with Brenda Lee of the Colorado Bear Coalition and very deep dive into this plan. A couple of things, you know, average versus whatever you want to call it. It's semantics. If you want to get into a semantics battle, we can do that all day long. And we can wordsmith this thing and we can just stay here all week. And that's not my game plan. You know, yesterday, I was asking for $32 and I was told by Katie that the peak was 29. And I showed on their graph that the peak was really 31. But it didn't matter. I voted for 29 because of what I heard from the staff, what I heard from the public, what I heard from Director Gibbs, what I heard from Director Prenslow. It was the right thing to do. And so you can call it whatever you want. You know, the whole year with a 5-year, the whole idea with it. And I asked this when they brought it up last time. Is this just an automatic switch? And the answer is no. They have to come back to this commission to do anything with quotas. And when it comes to quotas, the one thing that I talked to Brenda about, and I've talked to a lot of people about, and I can't get past it, we will never reach our quotas. We never have, and we never will. And I have offered up that I could put a free bear hunting license on every table in every restaurant and bar in Colorado, give them away, and we would never still reach our quotas. It's just not going to happen. And so why don't we look at what we're really trying to do here? You know, it's in the eye of the beholder. To you, it's that we're trying to reduce the bear population through killing. To me, it's we're trying to do something to create a reduction in conflicts. And that's what this is about. It's about working with the community and partnering. And if you listen to the people and read what they've written in B-11, this is what they want. They want to be able to work to try to resolve the conflict, whether it's garbage cans, whether it's whatever it takes. We're putting resources in, both people and money into this plan to try to develop a process where we can better resolve and avoid bear-human conflicts. It's not about killing bears. For that reason, I'm not going to accept anything other than the plan as it's been written.
Commissioner Schaefer.
I like what Commissioner Garcia said.
Brian, sorry. Oh, on that side, Commissioner Blecka and then Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I do agree with Commissioner Garcia. I get behind this plan. I was behind it before. It has so much community input around it. It addresses the biological and the social components of the issues. I think it's pretty thorough, and I think we need to get behind the work at this point because it's what is asked for. It's what the community itself wants. So, and I can't agree with your herd comparison at all. So thank you.
Commissioner Adams and then Commissioner Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Integrity is a critical core component of this agency's work. And words mean things. And I would argue against average meaning anything other than what average means. And I would hate that the integrity of this plan might be derailed by one word that is not accurate. Based on what I just heard from Matt Yamashita, and I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. He indicated that it was not an average, but it was actually the best available response based on the analysis that was conducted by the agency. And I feel very strongly, or rather I feel that is sufficient. The expertise of this agency and the commitment of this agency for decades is quite clear. And again, I would just hate for it to be compromised over us refusing to use the accurate terminology. There are many things that we can be semantic about, but 1 + 1 is 2. And we can all agree what the term average means. So if for no other reason, I could not in good faith vote on as is, because the language does not reflect the intention that the community articulated and our staff put together. Thank you.
Brian?
Just thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks for the statement and for Commissioner Touchton's identification of, I think it's a fair request for us to update that language to accurately reflect the professional judgment that our folks have up there. And so I think that's completely fair and I agree with you. And so that is something that we can certainly commit to.
Commissioner Bailey?
Thanks for this, thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks for this robust conversation. I was struck by Commissioner Touchton's comment that, and sort of, extraction from the report that a good year is 300 conflicts and a 50% reduction seems unlikely even in a good year. I would just love to hear from the team on if the, I don't know, like if we're expecting that the actions and the collaborations with the communities will be so robust that that will not be beyond reach, but I think that was just sort of a comment that struck me. And then I just want to confirm that if and when a change in strategy is needed for the language here, it would be possible to discuss biological metrics as well at that point. Is that something that might happen at that shift?
Is that Matt? Matt, I can't tell if you're raising your hand or.
I was. I apologize.
Sorry, just saying. Mr. Yamashita.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey, just to address your question. So as written in the plan, the 50% reduction specifically speaks to the bad food years, the food failure years. So it'd be a reduction of that number. So that's where 300 was an attainable goal, because that's what we see in the good food years. So that's something that staff believed was, within grasp, and we could accomplish that. So that's where that was coming from. Speaking to the second portion of your question, referencing, whether there's an opportunity to look at some of these other metrics as they come available. This was mentioned earlier that if every year annually, whenever we come to the commission with our license numbers, our allocations, all those harvest reports, that is information that is provided annually to the commission. So it's going to be readily available already. And then if we were to propose to make any additional changes to any kind of license strategy, then we're going to provide justification, associated justification for that. And that's where it would show up, is in that justification information that we prepare for why we're increasing, why we're decreasing, why we're doing whatever we're doing with licenses. You'll be able to identify what it is, where that plan goes, and why it's going in that direction.
Thanks so much for clarifying, and apologies, I'm still learning.
Commissioner Schaefer.
I'd like to move that we accept approve the bear management plan for B-11, provided the additional descriptive language as described by Mr. Dreher.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Sorry, we'll take a second and then we can do public comment.
Second.
I'm sorry. It's to accept the B-11 management plan as reflected in your agenda, with the opportunity to adjust the language as Commissioner Adams had suggested, and that there was a commitment by the staff to do that. That's a messy motion, but I think that captures it. Is that right, Commissioner Schaefer? Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. We do have public comment on this item, and we'll come back for additional discussion. Commissioner Touchton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have one person signed up. It will be Rachel Ames. So if we could get Rachel unmuted. And looks like your camera's on, Rachel, so you'll have 3 minutes and I'll give a warning at 15 seconds. You can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today about the B-11 Bear Management Plan. My name is Rachel Ames, and I'm a member of the Colorado Bear Coalition, an organization that supports Colorado communities that are working to reduce human-bear conflicts. I hope that you have had a chance to review the list of suggestions that our group has submitted to each of you last week. The members and partners of the Colorado Bear Coalition understand that the success of the B-11 Bear Management Plan is highly dependent on the ability of communities to pass ordinances and enforce policies to secure trash throughout the region. The communities of Eagle and Roaring Fork Valleys have a big task in front of them. Other communities who have implemented bear ordinances and bear-proof trash can requirements have needed several years to fully implement these changes, and results were not always instantaneous. So while it is possible to meet the goal of human-bear conflict reduction within the 5-year period, this is an ambitious timeline given all the work that needs to be accomplished and for results to be realized. While all 6 items presented in the suggestions that we gave you last week, the most important request we have are items 1 and 2, which can be summarized by adding the following 2 sentences to the B-11 plan. We propose that after the initial 5-year plan, a review be made to assess progress and consider external factors such as the availability of trash cans, drought, fire, and unexpected circumstances that may have contributed to the overall success or failure of the plan, and that this will inform the next steps. As with any good adaptive management plan, and particularly since metrics are difficult, we believe it is very important for the commissioners to have an opportunity to review efforts and progress made before shifting to alternative 2 if human-bear conflicts have not decreased enough. We also want to emphasize the importance of the community and efforts on the ground working with municipalities such as PPW wildlife managers. We are not aware of any money allocated for this area for this plan. And given the large area of B-11, several cities with high human-bear conflict, we are dedicated to raising funds and working with communities to see that this plan succeeds. We will plan to bring you progress reports on the commission over the next 5 years so that you can be aware of the efforts that our communities are making to reduce the causes of human-bear conflict. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for all the work that you do. You probably heard that I spoke with your colleague for about an hour. You probably know that. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I did, and I've worked with Brian. I have sat down with Brian and gone through all of your concerns. I believe together with Brian that I hope that all of your concerns are considered in the existing plan that we have, and that you will continue to work together to make sure. I fully believe that what you're asking for to come back to this commission in 5 years is going to under the existing plan. And I may not be here, but I think Brian will be, you will be. But thank you. I think all the work that the coalition has done, Brenda was very, very helpful in helping me to understand what's in the plan, what may not be in the plan. Nothing's perfect, nothing ever is, but I think it does what you were trying to do. And I'm sure they're going to be able to work together over the next 5 years to improve the plan. So thank you.
Commissioner Touchton and then Commissioner Vardy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 2 quick things. I wanted to thank Brian for agreeing to work on that language issue. I do appreciate that. And I think that it helps us build our trust with different constituencies. And I wanted to agree in part with Commissioner Garcia, though that hurt me a little bit to say it, that I do like the first 5 years of the plan. I continue to think the second 5 years of the plan is garbage, but we might as well vote on it and we'll see what happens in 5 years. I hope Brian's here.
Commissioner Vardy.
Thank you, Commissioner Chair. So I live in this neighborhood, and I can tell you that if I reach out to Matt for any wildlife related issue, most of the time he's not genuinely available because he's dealing with a bear conflict. And that is true for the majority of the wildlife officers in the area. 450, while it's a target, I think that it's still going to be a difficult situation with our current staffing in the Roaring Fork Valley. And I think that this plan is really, really unique, and I'm very excited about it because it's not about bear reduction, which most of our other plans would target some form of bear reduction when we have the amount of conflict that we have, like we do in this situation. And so I'm fairly a little surprised at the bit of opposition that seems to be present for this plan, because I feel like the agency has taken an innovative and unique approach to managing bears by really managing humans that are the source of the conflict that we have with the bears. And so I'm very supportive of the plan. I also like the 5-year timeline because I think we need to take care of this issue in the short term, and putting the pressure on, I think, is actually useful. I think if we draw it out, it may be more challenging to actually get to where we're trying to get to. And I believe that Matt and the rest of the agency has every incentive to reach our objectives without kind of defaulting to that second portion of the plan. And so for that reason, I'm very supportive of it. And yeah, if the motion wasn't made, I would have been making it right now, but it's there, so let's vote for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Verdi. I would concur. Living in this valley, I actually think there's a lot of excitement about it, and I think there's actually more common ground, an opportunity to really work with our local communities and learn from this plan. And I think we will naturally understand more in 5 years and be able to adjust as the situation warrants. Commissioner Garcia, is your light off now, or was it back on? It's off. I don't see a light on. Would you like to speak? Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to call for a vote because we do have other items on the agenda. So I think we'll do a roll call vote on this one. For the benefit of the public, we removed item 26.3 from the consent agenda items. Is B-11, the Roaring Fork and Eagle Valley Bear Management Plan. Laura, thanks for the roll call vote.
Adams? Yes. Bailey?
Yes.
Flecka?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Haskett?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Schaefer? Touchton? Marty?
Yes.
Chair Hauser?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, it is 10:33. Please be back at 10:45. We're in recess. Thank you.